Hey guys, what are you doing well today? So the Lions have just announced their squad for the 2021 tour to South Africa. Overall, I'm going to say I'm pretty pleased with the selection, and I think Warren Gatland and his team have done pretty well in selecting players across all positions. However, there are some players who have missed out, and yeah, it's kind of shocking in the sense of who've actually missed out. But yeah, comment below and tell me what you guys think about the players they've selected. Do you agree with most of the selections that the Lions have gone with, or do you think there's some players who have been excluded from this team and who should really be in this team purely on the basis of the player themselves, or maybe their recent form within the Six Nations? So tell me below what you guys think. But yeah, anyway, here is the Lions forwards pack that they have selected for 2021. I mean, I'll run them by with you guys, tell you what I think about them, and yeah. So now, obviously with the loose forwards, loose head props, they've actually gone with Mako Vunipola from England, Wyn Jones from Wales, and Roy Sunderland from Scotland. Overall, I'm going to say that's probably the selection I would have gone with myself. I think those are really the three main candidates you could have gone with in that selection. You could have gone with Joe Muller, to be frank, but obviously Joe Muller was kind of one of those which was always kind of speculated if he would actually be within the squad. But to be perfectly honest, I think that's probably the three that deserve to be within that position. So I think the loose head props, they've actually done pretty well in selecting the three there. I mean, moving on to the hookers. I mean, with the hookers, obviously, I think this is another guaranteed position really. They've gone with the likes of Ken Owens, Jamie George, and Luke Cowan-Dickie. I mean, yeah, again, I think this is just another position where all three of those players have done very well. I mean, you can maybe give an argument to say that Luke Cowan-Dickie and maybe Jamie George don't deserve. Maybe one of them should have not been selected due to England's recent performance within the Six Nations. Maybe they could have gone with the likes of George Turner, maybe from Scotland, who had a pretty impressive Six Nations. But overall, I think that's probably the right selection, because I think Luke Cowan-Dickie is probably the one which you might switch out for George Turner. But to be perfectly honest, I think that's probably what I would have gone with as well. So anyway, moving on to the tie head props. Tie head props is an interesting one in the sense where obviously they have the likes of Tad Furlong, brilliant, and obviously from Ireland. You have the likes of Andrew Porter from Ireland again, and then you have Xander Fagerson. So it's very interesting to see. You could say the first dismissal from the squad of one player who would have been in that position is Kyle Sinclair, and it's very surprising to see he's not been selected within this Lions tour. I mean, I'm not sure if he's injured or anything at the moment, but I just believe they just didn't select him, which is kind of surprising in the sense, because I think Kyle Sinclair does bring that X factor, particularly within scrummage, and I think that's key actually towards against the South Africans. So it's surprising to see he's not been selected, but I also understand that based on all form and purely on the Six Nations, all three of these players were fantastic for their team. So I can definitely see why they've selected these three players. So anyway, moving on to the second row. For the second row, obviously with the locks, you have the likes of Alun Wyn Jones, who of course Welsh and obviously the captain of the of the Lions, and it's kind of predicted in that sense. I mean, you could have, I think 12 months ago, you wouldn't have actually said Alun Wyn Jones would have even been in the squad. But due to his recent performances, you could say for Wales, and obviously, captaining Wales to that Six Nations title, he was a shoo-in for that captaincy, and I think he totally deserves it. Obviously, he's one of the longest-standing players within rugby, and for him to captain the Lions, and this might be his last year, you never know. Yeah, that's a great thing to see. But obviously, his partner in crime as well, obviously the likes of Maro Itoje from England, you have the likes of Ian Henderson from Ireland, you have Johnny Hill from England, which is a surprising one, and then you have the likes, and those are probably the main four, I'd say. I mean, you can kind of include Tad Burney as well as Courtney Lawes, but I've kind of selected them as loose forwards, because they can play both positions really, but more or less, I mean, those six, you could say, or four, I mean, I'm pretty pleased with them. I'll be surprised, to be perfectly honest, I am very surprised they've gone with Johnny Hill. I think they could have gone with someone with the likes of Gray, maybe from Scotland, or maybe even James Ryan from Ireland. I think those two have been, in my opinion, would have been more solid options to select. It's just a surprising option really. I mean, Johnny Hill, don't get me wrong, he's a great player and he's actually done very well for Exeter, but it's just more or less, I think James Ryan, it was always speculated that James Ryan or Itoje would have been the main combo until obviously Alun Wyn Jones came in. So to not select James Ryan is a huge, choice to make. And also with the likes of Johnny Gray, I mean, he's been brilliant for Scotland. So it's another one which, it's just very surprising they haven't gone with. But overall, I'd say that area is probably an area which I'd say I would question in the sense of who they've selected. But definitely let me know below if you agree or disagree with that. I mean, yeah, with the back row, obviously with the loose forwards, like I said, I've gone with Tad Burney as well as Courtney Laws, who I've kind of put within that area. But you do have the likes of Tom Curry as well as Hamish Watson from Scotland. You have the likes of Justin Tipperick, Jack Cunningham from Ireland. You have the likes of Tulipi Faletau as well as Sam Simmons. So yeah, this is probably the biggest selection, I would say, out of all the positions, I'd say. I mean, first of all, Sam Simmons, it's great to see that he's actually been selected. I mean, he deserves it entirely, like fully deserved. I mean, obviously he hasn't been selected within the England squad within, you could say, within the last Six Nations and prior to that, but yeah, he deserves it hands down. He deserves it. I mean, with his club form with Exeter, he has been probably the best player within the Premiership, so he definitely deserves to be in that selection in my opinion. So I'm totally happy with that choice. I'd say the other one, which I'm kind of surprised they've actually gone with, is Jack Conan. You could have gone with the likes of, Mako, maybe. I mean, I thought actually Mako was in it, but I might be wrong with that. Definitely comment below if he is or isn't. But Jack Conan's an interesting one. Obviously, he has done well for Leinster, but yeah, I think that's a bit questionable in that selection. But more or less, you do have the likes of Justin Tipper, which is great to see. I mean, the other one, which I'm kind of surprised they haven't gone with, is Josh Navidi. I mean, Josh Navidi, he's insane. I mean, he's a brilliant loose forward, and for them not to select him, I'm kind of surprised. So that's one player I'd say within the loose forward positions I'm surprised they haven't gone with. But it's good to see they've gone with the likes of Tom Curry as well as Hamish Watson. I mean, Hamish Watson's probably the standout one, which I was probably happy with the most. I mean, he totally deserved it after his incredible performance for Scotland within the whole entire Six Nations. So yeah, he definitely deserves it. So yeah, really happy with that selection, I'd say. And obviously Faletau, yeah, great to see Faletau in there. He's just a battering ram, and he'll do a lot of damage to the Springboks for sure. So anyway, moving on to the backs. So yeah, here are obviously the backs for the Lions tour for 2021. Yeah, so starting off with the scrum halves. The scrum halves is a very interesting selection. There was a lot of players that they actually could have gone with. There was obviously a lot of speculation that Danny Kerr actually could have gone into, slipped into this Lions tour, but obviously it's unfortunate to see that hasn't happened and that hasn't been the case. But obviously, I think the three they've gone with the likes of Conor Murray as well as Ali Price and Gareth Davis. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm not going to really argue that. I mean, obviously Ben Young said he wasn't going to be able to participate within the Lions tour due to family reasons, so that's totally understandable. And yeah, for that reason, I can understand why these three have been selected. So yeah, I'm really happy with that scrum half position, and obviously as a scrum half, previous scrum half, those three really present qualities that could really go against the Springboks. I mean, particularly Conor Murray. I mean, his box kicking is crucial to have, because if you want to play against the Springboks, they're going to be doing that a lot. So it's just a kicking game most of the time. So that's good to see that they've gone with those kind of players from that spot. But yeah, more or less with the fly halves, this is another controversial one. Probably one of the most controversial you could say positions of within a rugby field all the time, but particularly for the Lions tour, you really had four people they could have four players. I mean, they could have gone with the likes of Owen Farrell, Dan Biggar, Finn Russell, and then Johnny Sexton. But for this tour, Johnny Sexton is not included in the Lions tour. It's to be frank, I think that's probably the right thing to do, because I think Johnny Sexton is towards the end of his career, and more or less, I think, if you think about like all these kickers, none of them really had above 90. If I'm being perfectly honest, I don't think any of them scored higher than 90% accuracy within the Six Nations. So it's one of those things where if Johnny Sexton did have that, then I would have included him. But because none of those players did, and basing it off, like Finn Russell and Dan Biggar were probably the two best flyers within the Six Nations, and then you have Owen Farrell, who is also a fly half, but it can also slot into the centre spot if needed. Obviously, that was used within 2017, so that's definitely the reason why I would have gone with those three, and I totally agree with what they've gone with, and I think that's probably the right selection. But yeah, just happy to see Finn Russell selected. I mean, I'm just buzzing, because he just brings so much creativity towards Eddie Sadia's end, and yeah, it'll be great to see what he does within the Lions. Yeah, moving on to obviously the centres. So the centres is a very interesting one. Obviously, they've gone with a few surprises in there. To be perfectly honest, I mean, there is first of all, I just need to mention that George North couldn't be selected for this Lions tour due to his injury that he just picked up, I think, around 2 weeks ago. That was very unfortunate to see. But more or less, they've actually gone with the likes of Bryn Aki from Ireland. They've gone with Chris Harris from Scotland, who was very impressive, I'd say, throughout the Six Nations. They've also gone with the likes of Robbie Henshaw, which is kind of a guaranteed in that sense. And yeah, those are really the three, I would say, the class of centers. You maybe could put Ellie Daly in there, but more or less I've sort of those three as the main three centers. And it's interesting because to be honest, Brin Aki, I would have not selected him. Out of all the players mentioned so far, he's probably the one I wouldn't have selected. I mean, I would have probably gone with the likes of Manu Tuilagi ahead of him, or maybe even, I don't know. I mean, maybe you put. I mean, who's another? I mean, Gary Ringrose. I mean, for Ireland, of course. I mean, he's another one who's had a great. He had a great Six Nations for Ireland. So it's just more or less. I'm very surprised with that selection. I get the reasons why, obviously, because you're playing in South Africa and you need that kind of battering ram. But to be perfectly honest, I would have gone with someone like Tuilagi ahead of Brin Aki. But it's a very interesting choice there. But yeah, definitely comment below if you disagree or agree with that selection. But anyway, with the obviously with the left wingers, they have gone with the likes of Josh Adams as well as Duan van der Merwe, which is kind of good to see. I think both of those really deserve to be within that position, due to their recent performances within the last Six Nations. And I think both of them really stood out for Scotland as well as Wales. So it's good to see them being included within that position. For the right wingers, you most likely have the likes of Louis Rees-Zammit as well as Anthony Watson within that position. So it's good to see that they have kind of a mix of players from different sides they've gone with. And yeah, I think both of them have been outstanding, you could say, within the Six Nations. And, I mean, particularly for me, I think Louis Rees-Zammit, it's great to see he's been inducted towards this Lions team. This obviously will be his first tour with the Lions, so it will be. I just can't wait. I mean, him versus like the likes of Cheslin Kobe, it'll be a good battle there. I mean, I'm just thinking hypothetically, but it'll be good to see what kind of the matchups that play out. But yeah, Anthony Watson, he's a shoo-in for me. He's probably, in my opinion, he is actually the best winger Europe has. That can be very debatable in the sense, but I just think he's so all-rounded in the sense of what he brings to any squad. Obviously with Bath as well. So yeah, I'm very happy with Anthony Watson being selected. The big one, obviously, that hasn't been, the big player who actually hasn't been selected, and probably a lot of people in the comments will tell me, is Johnny May. I'm actually in the minority, I'd say, within this selection, because I actually agree that Johnny May shouldn't be selected. I know a lot of people like him, obviously, he's a clinical try scorer. I'm not going to really say he's not, but towards the Lions, I don't think Johnny May is the right kind of person you go for. I mean, I think Duan van der Merwe is, in my opinion, a better player to go into the Lions than Johnny May, purely because he's more physical in the sense, and that you need physicality against the Lions. You just need that. And Van der Merwe is just more like a battering ram in the sense of like he reminds me of. I know this is a weird comparison, but he reminds me of like the European version of Julian Sevilla and what he can bring within that position. So for that reason, I think Van der Merwe, like if you're going off like the four, Van der Merwe is probably the one I'd say is like at the bottom of the list. So it's between him and Johnny May, and I'd probably go with Van der Merwe. I just think he's brilliant, and loving the bits. Obviously, he's an ex-African, so it'll be good to see him obviously play within South Africa. But more or less, yeah, he definitely. I mean, Johnny May is a very interesting choice that they haven't gone with, but. Yeah, he hasn't been selected, so I mean, overall, I'm kind of pleased with that. But yeah, definitely let me know in the comments if you disagree or agree with that selection. So then, with the last one, obviously, is the fullbacks, and the fullbacks. This is where I kind of put Elliot Daly in, as well as Stuart Hogg and Liam Williams. I mean, those are really shoo-ins, really, with Stuart Hogg and Liam Williams. Both of them playing, pretty well, I'd say, throughout the Six Nations. I mean, Stuart Hogg is just, he's different gravy in the best way I could put it. I mean, he's just sensational to watch, and even like Liam Williams, he reminds me of like in George Bridge in the sense where he's very reliable in his position. He'll always give you like a 7 out of 10 performance no matter what. And obviously Elliot Daly, it's good to see him being included because for me, I think you have to have that kind of player, even though he's not in the best of form. And it's one where you could definitely disagree with, and yeah, I can definitely see why he shouldn't be selected ahead of other players. But for the reason of his kicking ability, it's just one of those things which I understand why they've selected him over, other players, because you need that kind of person, in clutch moments, and yeah, it's going to be very crucial, to have a player like Elliot Daly within the squad. But more or less, I mean, that's kind of it really with the my reaction towards the Lions squad. I mean, definitely comment below and tell me what you guys think about this squad, because I'm kind of amazed about the players that they have selected, but also amazed about the players who haven't having been selected. So yeah, definitely comment below and let me guys know what you guys think. I mean, even like looking back at it, like I think I think I'm wrong in saying, I might be wrong in saying this, but if you look at all the players been listed, they've selected 11 Englishmen, 10 Welsh, 8 Irish, and 8 Scotland players. So it's a very good mix in the sense where normally the Scottish would normally have only like 3 or 2. So it's good to see that they've kind of like made it more balanced in the you could say in the selection of players they've gone with. But overall, yeah, kind of happy with the overall selection. Definitely comment below and let me guys know what you guys think. But yeah, that's kind of it. Yeah, definitely have a good day, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon.